My name is Alara Whitley, and 3 weeks ago, my little brother told me I wasn't classy enough to represent our family at the Whitley year-end gala. His exact words were, "Don't show up and embarrass us. Stay home." He said it like he was handing down a decree, like I should bow and thank him for sparing our family name from my presence. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't cry. I just stared at my phone for a long second, let the familiar sting settle in, and typed back, "Don't worry. I already have plans." Then I turned off my screen and opened the folder where I'd been collecting yacht listings like half jokes, half daydreams. I scrolled past the ones I had saved, just because they looked pretty, until I found the one I'd bookmarked twice. I exhaled once and clicked wire payment. 3 weeks later, the Atlantic wind cut against my face as I leaned on the rail of my own boat. Soft teak under my palms, quiet waves kissing the hull like applause only I could hear. A glass of chilled Prosecco sat beside me, catching the winter sun in soft gold. The marina around me buzzed with holiday noise laughter, echoing over polished decks and designer coats. I held the camera steady, lifted my chin, and whispered to myself, "Classy enough." I recorded one smooth take, slow and calm, the kind of confidence you earn when nobody believes in you, and you still rise anyway. When I posted it, I didn't think about my family at all. I just pressed upload, set the phone down, and watched the gulls circle against the December sky. By the time the sun set, the video had already passed 1 million views, and by morning my family had seen it. They hadn't invited me to their party, so I built my own. "Let's see who embarrasses who," I murmured and sipped my drink. When people talk about family, they like to paint it as a warm place, a soft place, a shelter from the world. I used to believe that too. Or maybe I just wanted to. In the Whitley house, warmth was reserved for my brother Blake, the golden boy who could do no wrong even when he did everything wrong. Meanwhile, I was the quiet shadow in designer shoes that nobody bothered to look at unless I risked casting shade on the air they adored. I remember being 8, sitting at the dinner table, legs swinging because my feet didn't reach the floor yet. Blake had scored a goal in a youth soccer match, and my parents toasted him with sparkling cider like he'd just signed a professional contract. I had brought home a drawing that had won first place in an art contest. My mother smiled, patted my head, and said, "Sweetheart, maybe you can draw Blake accepting his award one day. That would be precious." Everyone laughed. I did too, because children learn early that laughter is safer than silence. Years passed and little comments piled up like snowdrifts, soft enough to pretend they didn't hurt, heavy enough to bury you if you stood still too long. Maybe media school, because law seems too demanding for your temperament. "He's our pride, you're our balance. You're sweet darling, but not every child shines the same way." Polished cruelty disguised as concern, the kind that makes you question whether the sting in your chest is pain or shame. By 16, I had mastered the art of being invisible at family functions. I'd hover near the piano, pretend to sip sparkling water, and watch guests fawn over Blake's athletic scholarships. Meanwhile, I'd be asked if I was still doing that creative thing. That creative thing eventually became producing brand stories for companies bigger than my father's ego, but they never noticed the shift. Or maybe they did, and refused to acknowledge it. Admitting I had grown meant admitting their golden narrative had cracks. Even when I moved to Newport for work, I still called on holidays. Tradition, obligation, habit, whatever you name it. It owned me. I'd sit in my apartment laptop glowing on my coffee table, pretending I didn't care that my presence was optional and my absence was convenient. And every time I dialed home, some foolish part of me hoped to hear, "We're proud of you." I never did. Eventually, I learned to silence that hope the way I silenced their calls, quietly, efficiently, without ceremony. That night when Blake sent his message, it wasn't the first cut. It was just the last one I decided to bleed for. He thought he was reminding me of my place. He had no idea I was already building a new one, the kind where I didn't need anyone to toast me. I could raise my own glass. There's a certain quiet you only hear when you finally stop trying to earn someone's approval. It doesn't arrive with fireworks or dramatic revelations. It arrives like a deep breath you didn't realize you'd been holding for years. That quiet found me slowly, seat by seat in coffee shops, where I edited campaigns until midnight weekend by weekend, when I lugged camera gear across cobblestone streets in Newport, learning that creating beauty for clients didn't require an audience of family skeptics, only my own conviction. I built my work like a mosaic brand. Shoots for local boutiques, product reels for skincare startups, campaigns that turned into retainers. then referrals that turned into waiting lists. Some months were lean, some projects fell apart, but every success was mine alone. No Whitley name behind me, no family favors, no shortcuts. Just skills, grit, and a stubborn refusal to stay small because they once decided I should be. Still, progress doesn't erase old wounds. It only gives them shape. There were nights I sat on my kitchen floor after a 12-hour shoot, still smelling like hairspray and ring light heat, scrolling past photos of Blake at charity balls in tuxedos. My parents paid for his captions, bragging about hard work and legacy. Nights when doubt whispered that I was just playing make-believe success, that real success looked like velvet ropes and last names engraved in country club plaques. I hate admitting it, but I still wondered whether my parents checked my social profiles, whether they paused long enough to see the proof right there in motion and light. But life has a way of sending people who see you before you see yourself. For me, one of those people was Hunter. We met on a branded shoot for a wellness company he handled contracts for. He stood there in a charcoal coat, sharp jawline, and quiet eyes, scanning clauses like they were riddles, and I was something he already understood. He didn't treat my job like a hobby. He didn't talk over me. He didn't flinch when I asked questions about incorporating liability creative ownership. Instead, he said, "You should think bigger, Alara. People underestimate what you build because you don't brag about it." No one in my life had said that before. Certainly not my family. For the first time, my world didn't feel like a consolation prize. It felt like a launch pad. And once you taste that kind of self-created air, you can't go back to suffocating for someone else's approval. So when Blake told me not to show up at their gala, he thought he was exiling me. Really, he just cut the last thread that tied me to a place I had already outgrown. And what do you do when someone finally lets you go? You don't cling, you take the space, and you rise in it. The night Blake sent that message, the air outside my apartment tasted like winter-cold metallic bracing. I sat at my desk staring at the words, "Don't show up and embarrass us," like they were written in stone instead of pixels. My tea had gone cold. The soft hum of my space heater filled the room. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. If someone shows you the door, maybe the gift is finally knowing which direction to walk. I opened my laptop almost on instinct. The tabs were already there from months of quiet wanting yacht listings. Marina Slips LLC paperwork guides. I used to scroll through them after hard days like some people look at luxury real estate or Paris flights they can't yet afford. It wasn't a fantasy. It was a promise I hadn't been ready to say out loud. Until that message. My fingers hovered for a second. I could hear my mother's voice in my head. "Don't be dramatic, Alara." And for once, instead of shrinking, I smiled. Drama wasn't buying a boat. Drama was dedicating your whole life to a sibling, and then asking the other child to dim herself so the family shine looked consistent. I clicked the listing I'd saved twice. A clean white 40-something-foot beauty in Newport sturdy lines. Teak accents, engine recently rebuilt. It wasn't flashy. It was elegant, purposeful, like the kind of life I wanted. My pulse steadied, not racing, not frantic, just firm like something inside me had shifted into place. I called Hunter the next morning. He didn't ask why. He didn't warn me not to. He just listened, and when I finished, he said, "If you're going to build freedom, build it correctly. I'll draft the LLC. No questions. No hesitation. No patronizing tone. Just presence and competence. Two things I'd chased my whole childhood and never caught, until I stopped asking my family to give them to me. By the end of that week, the paperwork was filed, the funds transferred, the slip secured. I stepped aboard for the first time with numb fingers and a heartbeat louder than the harbor wind. The deck creaked like it recognized me. The ocean smelled sharp and alive. And there I was, standing at the edge of a dream I had earned stitch by stitch and sacrifice by sacrifice. No applause, no speech, no audience. Just me, salt air, and possibility. I whispered into the air, not to the boat, but to the girl who used to wait for permission. You don't need their invitation anymore. And in that moment, I didn't feel like the daughter left off a guest list. I felt like someone finally choosing herself. Owning the boat didn't feel like rebellion. It felt like oxygen. Each morning, I walked the docks with coffee in hand, learning how ropes rested, how the water shifted with the wind. I filmed, edited, breathed in silence that felt like freedom. I didn't need to prove anything. Success rooted deeper when lived, not performed. Then the video, one quiet clip against the sunset. New year, new views. By morning, it went viral. Comments, offers, invitations, admiration mixed with envy. I didn't celebrate. I exhaled. This wasn't luck. It was arrival. My father's voicemail came first. Don't forget where you come from. My mother sent gown links. Blake texted cute boat. I blocked him. 2 days later came their demand disguised as invitation, bring the boat to the Whitley gala. They called it legacy. I called it theft. No, I said. Mother's voice oozed control. Don't be impulsive, Alara. It reflects on all of us. Reflects on all of us their way of claiming what was mine. That night I told Hunter I'm done being their backdrop. They didn't stop guilt messages, nostalgia, even a yacht arrival invite. Then Blake again. We'll handle security. Force was still their language. I sat on deck laptop glowing with offers I'd earned alone, unread messages stacking like noise. I let silence answer. When forged Marina papers arrived with my fake signature, something inside me steadied. They weren't reconciling. They were reclaiming. And I was done letting them. Hunter met me at the office with coffee. He filed the report. The harbor master nodded, simple, respectful. Authority wasn't inherited. It was claimed. As holidays sparkled, I lived in another season, one of closure. No fear, only readiness. Each morning I checked locks, alarms lines, not from fear but intention. On New Year's Eve, the harbor shimmered with silk and pride. Then a black SUV appeared. Heels. Voices. They hadn't respected my no. Now they'd learn its cost. The first thing I noticed wasn't my father's voice. It was the sound of his shoes. Heavy, polished, purposeful. My mother followed, face composed in that polite, distant smile. Blake came last, hands in his pockets, jaw tight. From the flybridge I watched them approach, wind in my hair coat pulled close. The sky was bruised lavender, the sea like liquid steel. For once they looked small guests at a door they no longer owned. Open up, Alara, my father called. You've made your point. Stop being dramatic. Dramatic, their favorite word when a woman chose herself. I said no. My voice didn't shake. The boat steadied beneath me like it agreed. Blake smirked. You owe the family. Your little online stunt doesn't give you power. I didn't answer. Stillness was power. My mother sighed, voice dripping with control. Sweetheart, don't embarrass us. Just let us board. We'll talk inside. Translation. Let us take what you built and pretend we made you. I tapped my phone. The marina alarm split the air. Lights flared. 2 officers appeared. Unauthorized access, I said. Orders on file. My father argued, waving forged papers. We have rights. You don't, the officer said. Step back. My mother's mask cracked fear, maybe. Ava, Blake's girlfriend, whispered, Blake, stop, but he shoved her away. I saw myself in her years ago. Not anymore. You wanted a party without me, I said. So host it without me. The officer stepped forward. That was the moment the power shifted. This vessel is private property, one said. Leave now. They hesitated, pride warring with reality, then turned away. For the first time I watched them retreat. And I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize. They didn't leave quietly. Whitleys never do. My father's voice cracked one last time. You think this victory means anything? Family doesn't abandon family. I met his gaze. You didn't abandon me. You dismissed me. My mother held her pride like armor. Blake muttered, ego shrinking. An Ava-eyed tired voice, soft whispered, I'm sorry. Not guilt, just recognition. Then she walked away, alone, the quietest rebellion that family had ever seen. The officers led the rest off the dock, their footsteps fading into wind. The harbor stilled, lights shimmered across the water. Somewhere laughter rose and a cork popped, life moving on. I stayed by the rail, breath misting, heart steady. Not triumphant, just unburdened. The knot I'd carried my whole life had finally come undone. Hunter appeared at the dock's end, coat collar turned up. He stepped aboard, silently standing beside me without breaking the moment. You okay? He asked. I'm free. Not happy, not victorious, free. He nodded. Some people witness your transformation. Others hold the light while you reach it. Fireworks bloomed across the sky, gold and red scattering over the water, brighter than any chandelier my parents worshipped. Once I would have traded anything for a place beside them. Now I stood on my own deck, wrapped in my own warmth, knowing I'd never return to a room where I was only tolerated. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who protects your peace. Sometimes the bravest love is walking away. I lifted my glass toward the night. Here's to choosing myself. The ocean answered softly against the hull, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I'd lost a family. I'd reclaimed my life.